Welcome to the Money Love Podcast. I'm your host and money coach, Paige Pritchard. If you're ready to uplevel your results in relationship with money, you're in the right place. Each week, I give you the tools to transform your mindset, manage your emotions, and achieve results with your money you never dreamed were possible. Hi, love, and welcome to episode 5 of the Money Love Podcast. Like I say every episode, I am so happy that you're here. In this episode today, we are going to be talking about your mindset around budgeting. Of course, right? Like by now, you have to know that that's where we're going to start with every topic we talk about, your mindset. And guess what? I have a surprise for you. I am recording a bonus episode that is going to come out on Thursday of this week, where I am going to be walking you through the tactical part of budgeting, how I do it. And I want you to make sure that you tune it back in for that. It's one of the most common questions that I get of just like, how do you budget? But today's episode and Thursday's episode are going to be a very high level and condensed version of me answering all these questions for you. How to get your mind right around budgeting, but then also how I do it. So make sure that you check back in on Thursday. Like I said, it's just a treat that I'm giving you, just a little bonus episode. Tune back in on Thursday for the tactical piece of it. Here comes the mindset piece of it. Like we've talked about in previous episodes, but it's worth repeating. Your mindset around budgeting, which your mindset means your thoughts and beliefs about budgeting, will dictate the results that you see with budgeting. So if you have negative and unproductive thoughts about budgeting, then your results with budgeting aren't going to be so stellar. And again, this is why the majority of people really struggle with budgeting. Like, let's just be honest. They are given the how-tos, but then when you start peeling back the layers, you actually start discovering that they have really nasty underlying beliefs about budgeting. Like it's hard and it's restrictive and maybe even unnecessary. Only poor people do it, right? I've heard that a lot. I mean, think about that. If that is your mindset going into your budgeting journey, thinking it's hard and complicated and restrictive, then how successful do you really think you're going to be? Answer that question honestly. Probably not very successful. So like we do with everything here, we start with mindset and getting that in a good place. Then once we have a constructive and productive thought base fueling our feelings around budgeting and driving the actions that we take, that is when the magic truly happens. And that is when everything starts to just click into place. So, like we've done in other areas, the first step is awareness of your thoughts around budgeting. So, let me ask you, what comes up when you hear the word budgeting? What thoughts come up? What feelings come up? Pay attention to just how you're feeling right now. Notice it. You have a lot of thoughts and beliefs about what budgeting is, about what it looks like, what it represents, and maybe even most importantly and profoundly, what it says about you as someone who budgets. And I'm going to encourage you after you listen to this episode to do a thought download on budgeting. Remember, like we talked about in episode 1, if you're like, thought download, what's that? Go back and listen to episode 1. Do a thought download on budgeting. So this means that you're going to sit down and you're going to dump your brain and you're going to see what comes out when you think about budgeting. So this is going to be 15 to 20 minutes uninterrupted. Don't edit or filter your thoughts. This isn't a space or a time for judgment. It's a time for awareness and evaluation. So I'm going to give you a list of questions here. There's 10 of them, but here is a good list of questions that I want you just to think through when you are doing your thought download on budgeting. Okay, here they are. First, what is a budget? Just answer that question. In your own mind, your own opinion, what is a budget? What does budgeting look like? What does budgeting give me? What does budgeting take away from me? What financial results will it give me? What does budgeting mean about me? What does it mean about other people? How easy or difficult is it to do? How much time does it take me? And lastly, how confident am I in my ability to follow and stick to a budget? Those are some really good questions that you can start to ask yourself. And like I said, just start writing. And by you going through and giving your honest and unedited answers to these questions, you will uncover your thinking around budgeting. So for instance, when you answer the question, what does budgeting take away from me? What did you say? Or what do you think you will say? A lot of people say that it takes away their freedom, takes away fun, takes away spontaneity, takes away their ability to spend money on what they want to spend it on. When you answer the question, what does it mean about me? What do you think you'll write down? For many, they make the fact that they budget mean all sorts of things about them and about their financial situation. They make it mean that they're a cheapskate, that they're frugal, that they're poor, that they're stingy, that they're controlling. What about how easy you think it is? How much time it's going to take you? A lot of people that I've worked with think budgeting has to just be this super intense, complicated process that takes a lot of time. And that's very cumbersome, right? So go through and uncover your own beliefs. But I'm going to give you the most common beliefs that I hear that I feel sabotage people's results when it comes to their budgeting process. I'm going to go and I'm going to read these through to you, but these are very common beliefs that I hear. And remember, I'm saying beliefs. These are not facts. I've done this before. I've read you a list of thoughts and I've told you beforehand that these are just thoughts. They're just beliefs that people have. They're not facts, even if they seem very factual to you. The most powerful part of this process is just recognizing the fact that these are just your thoughts. This is just what you've chosen to believe, how you've elected to view this area of your life. But the beautiful thing about thoughts is that they are all 100% optional and they are always open to change. So know that. Okay, here we go. Common budgeting beliefs. Budgeting is really hard and confusing. Budgeting takes too much time. Or, I don't have time to budget. That's what I hear a lot. I'm not smart enough, disciplined enough, financially savvy enough, fill in the blank enough to budget. Budgeting is restrictive and it confines me. Budgeting sucks all the fun and spontaneity out of life. Only poor people budget. I'm doing it wrong. Budgeting is frustrating and discouraging. Budgeting just doesn't work for me. I've tried it before and it didn't go well. I can't stick to a budget. Something always comes up. My life is too busy, crazy, unpredictable, fill in the blank for me to budget. Okay, just a few, but fairly common thoughts and beliefs about budgeting that I hear a lot. And like I said, these might resonate with you, and you might have others that come up for you that aren't listed here when you actually go and do a thought download on budgeting. This list will open your eyes to how you view budgeting, the thoughts, the beliefs, the attitudes that you have about it. And so the next step is to really evaluate this list of thoughts and ask yourself, okay, when I'm thinking these thoughts, what feelings come up for me? That's the next step, right? Because all of our thoughts create our feelings. And I can tell you that some of the really common feelings that are going to stem from thoughts like this that I just read you are going to be confusion, overwhelm, discouragement, inferiority, self-doubt, feeling restricted or confined. So when you think about that, when you think about, okay, these are the thoughts that I'm having and they're creating these feelings within me, then it's like, of course budgeting is so freaking hard for so many people. Because do you think that the set of actions that's going to flow from confusion, from overwhelm, from discouragement, from self-doubt are going to be positive and productive actions? No, of course not. And it's funny because when you look at it this way, it makes so much sense why so many people don't budget or they give up on it or they think it's completely unnecessary. But the truth is that very few people actually ever give conscious thought and evaluation to all the deep-rooted beliefs and insecurities that they have around budgeting. So what happens is people think it's the process, right? And I just did air quotes as I'm recording this, the process. They think that the issue and the problems and why they can't nail budgeting all stem from external factors, right? They point their finger and they blame the system, the teacher, the software, the fact that, quote, nothing ever goes my way, or things just keep popping up. It's always something. It's always something outside of them that they blame of why, quote, budgeting just doesn't work for me. Which, if you remember, that was in the thought list that I gave you. Budgeting just doesn't work for me is just a thought. And here's what I want to offer you. Like, it's never the process, okay, or the system that's not working. It's you that's not working. It's your mind that is being mismanaged. That is the problem. Now, is this a tough pill to swallow? Yes. But is it also great news? Yes. Because this means that if you've tried budgeting in the past and it didn't work, or if you just never attempted it at all, you can stop waiting for something outside of you to change or to shift. You can stop waiting for a new process or for some day just to feel more disciplined than you feel now. Because the only thing that needs to transform is your mindset, which we can do right now, today, as you're listening to this podcast. Okay, so let's do that. Here we go. Let's walk through some of these questions that I told you to ask yourself earlier from the thought download, and let's process and reframe them. So let's start with the question, what is a budget? The first place that I want you to start is to just really work on stripping away all of the drama from your budget and simply just come back to the very simple thought that your budget is just your plan for your money. That is it. In the most simplistic sense, it's just a plan. You have a plan for so many other areas of your life, don't you? So, why do we make it so complicated and mean so many nasty things when it comes to having a plan for our money? Like at work, when you're implementing a project, you'll have a plan. When you're working to lose weight, you have a fitness plan and an eating plan. When you're building a business, you have a business plan. Like, it's no big deal, and it's not a problem for us to have plans in other areas of our life. And money doesn't need to be any different. Your budget is just your plan for your money. End of story. That's all it is. Now, listen, some people have even told me that the word budget is a nasty word for them. Like, they just hear the word and it brings up a lot of angst and negativity. So, if that's the case for you, then honestly, call it whatever you want. Call it your money plan. I don't care. But that's all a budget is. It's simply your roadmap to wealth. From now on, when you think about the question, what is a budget? I want your mind to go to, my budget is my plan for my money and my blueprint to building wealth. Simple as that. That's all it needs to be. Nothing more complicated than that. Now, how about the next question? What does budgeting look like? So just drop the idea that there is only one way or a quote unquote right way to budget. There's not. There are many forms that your budget can take. And at the end of the day, the only right way is the way that's perfect for you. One of the most important things about your budget is that it has to be unique to you. It shouldn't be cookie cutter or look like anyone else's because it's going to reflect your own personality, your priorities, your goals, your expenses. So stop telling yourself that you're not doing it right because there's no such thing. As long as you're doing it in a way that works for you and that is perfect for you, that's all that matters. That's how you know you're doing it right. All right, what about what a budget gives you? And this is a big one. One of the most powerful shifts that you can make when it comes to budgeting is shifting your focus away from what a budget takes away from you and focus on what it gives you. Stop thinking about what you're losing out on and what it's taking away from you and start focusing on, what am I gaining? What does this give to me? That will change everything. Most people want to focus on what's being taken from them. They want to be in that scarcity mindset, that lack mindset. They think that their freedom, their control, their autonomy is being snatched up. But instead, let's shift into abundance and fix our thoughts on what a budget gives us. And a budget gives you so many things. If you really think about it this way, it really does. First of all, it gives you control over your money. And that level of control gives you peace of mind. It gives you visibility and transparency into your money, which is something that a lot of people just don't have. And also, and this might be one of the most important things, it gives you permission to spend money. It gives you permission to spend. A lot of people think that a budget is going to make them feel worse about spending money. But let me tell you, that couldn't be farther from the truth. Nothing gives me more freedom, more peace, more confidence to go out and spend money without blame and without shame than my budget. When I've budgeted money to something, I can go out and spend that money with glee. There's no second guessing myself. There's no shaming myself. There's no negotiating with myself. I know that it's done because I've given myself permission to spend that money ahead of time And I can't tell you the level of confidence that that gives me with going out and spending my money. Gives you so many things, all of those things that I just listed. Here's another really impactful shift. What do you making budgeting mean about you? Let's be clear. Budgeting is an action that you take, right? It would go in the A line of our model. It's something that you do. It's not who you are. The act of budgeting says nothing about your character or who you are as a person. So you don't have to make it mean anything about you. You don't even have to make it mean anything about other people. Budgeting isn't for poor people. I hear this all the time. Somebody said this to me once. They're like, "Well, don't only poor people budget?" I was like, "Oh God." Because here's what I believe. I believe that wealthy people budget. They're wealthy because they have a purposeful and intentional plan for their money. Okay? Wealthy people budget. Budgeting doesn't mean that you're cheap or that you're frugal. It doesn't mean that you're not spending money. It just means that you're paying attention, that you're in control, and that you're making a game plan for your money. That's it. Also, I'll just say this, you can just throw away all the requirements that you've placed on yourself of what you have to be in order to budget and budget well. Again, this is just something that you've self-imposed on yourself. It's not the truth. So many people think that they have to be smart, they have to be disciplined, they have to be financially savvy to budget. But I'm here to tell you that you can budget just as you are. You're perfect the way that you are, and you can budget the way that you are. If you passed the second grade and can do basic addition, basic math, you can budget. It's really not difficult. It's not hard. P.S. Okay, I know I'm going off on a little bit of a rant here, but P.S. Disciplined isn't a personality trait. Okay, it's not something that you are or you aren't. It's something that you practice, and it's a muscle that you build and strengthen over time. This is such a big one that I hear, especially with budgeting, okay? Do not take on the identity of being undisciplined. It's not a badge that you wear. It's not that you are or aren't. It's just that you might have made undisciplined choices in the past, but it doesn't mean that you're stuck there as being an undisciplined person for the rest of your life and that you can't evolve. Like I said, I know that was a rant, but I hear that one so much, and it's like it's a PSA that needs to be said, okay? Disciplined is not a personality trait. It's not like the color of your hair or your eyes. It's a muscle that you strengthen over time. Lastly, let's talk about the time and effort that you think is required around budgeting. This one scares a lot of people off, like I was saying. Now listen, budgeting is a system. It's a process that you establish in your life. And so with any system that you set up, there is going to be an initial investment of your time and your resources to get it set up and to get it running. But whenever you set up a system, you invest that initial amount of time and energy with the intention of it saving you 100 times that down the road, right? And budgeting is absolutely no different. It does. It does take time to get everything gathered and organized and ordered and set up and linked and transferring and, getting all that automated. But once that's done, budgeting is a process that honestly becomes almost automatic. I spend 1 to 2 minutes a day checking in with my budget, Monday through Friday. That's it. And all I'm doing in that 1 to 2 minutes, people are really curious about this. They're like, what are you doing in that 1 to 2 minutes? Here's what I'm doing. All I'm doing is I'm logging into YNAB and I'm looking at the transactions that have flowed in, that have cleared in my bank, and I'm categorizing those transactions. I'm making sure we're on track in all of our categories. That's it. On the days that I get paid, which is twice a month, I'm probably in YNAB 10 minutes tops, just budgeting out that money. And then everything else is automated. Everything is linked. All of my savings transfers are automated. My sinking funds are automated. Funding money to hit my financial goals, it's all automated, right? Now, I did invest some of my time and energy to get all that set up, but now that it's running and automated, I don't have to worry about it anymore. So when you total all that up, the 1 to 2 minutes a day, and then, 10 minutes on payday, if you do the math and you figure out how much time that is less than 0.5% of my time in a given month. It's not even 1%. It's less than half of a full percent, right? And so knowing this, one thing that I really like to just tell myself and remind myself is I always like to say I have all the time I need to manage my money well. Do not come to me and tell me that you don't have time to manage your money well. And that's all you're doing when you're budgeting is you're just making a plan and managing your money. Like we've talked about, money is like oxygen. It's a necessity. And so it doesn't require that much of your time, but I give my money the time and attention that it deserves, which means I check in with it for 60 seconds a day. That's it. It is the first thing I do Monday through Friday. I always say I'm like Pavlov's dog. I cannot help it. I sit down at my desk with my coffee. Before starting my workday, I pull up YNAB, I do my thing in YNAB, and then I'm out and I'm on with my day until the next day. But I have all the time I need to manage my money well. Listen, budgeting isn't hard. It's not. It's not difficult. It's not confusing. It's easy and clear. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's fast and it's efficient. It isn't a chore. It's fun. It's liberating. It's your step-by-step process to build and live the life of your dreams. Okay? Now, think about it. When that's what you believe about budgeting, because that's what I believe about budgeting. And when that's what you believe about budgeting, that is when the magic happens. That is when you will not only start to look forward to, but love the budget process. This is my hope for you. I know that you are capable of getting there. Let's think about the set of feelings that thoughts like that are going to produce in us, right? Instead of the overwhelm, confusion, self-doubt. When I think those thoughts, when I think that budgeting is easy, it's clear, it's efficient, it's fun, it's liberating, it's my plan to build the life of my dreams, those thoughts create feelings of excitement, confidence, clarity, determination in me. That is the place that you want to be coming from with budgeting. The set of actions that are going to stem from feelings like that is when everything will click and start to change for you. So that is your budgeting mindset. Like I said, this has to get cleaned up before you jump into the how-tos. I firmly believe that so many people fail at budgeting, not because they're not smart enough, not because they're not disciplined enough, not because they're not capable enough, but because their mindset is a pile of poo around it. Honestly, I don't know of another way to say it. It's garbage. That's what it is. Garbage in, garbage out. That's just how it works. Go back, do your thought download, figure out what's going on in your mind around budgeting, okay? Like I said, we have to start with awareness. Once we know what's there, then we go and we work to clean it up. Changing your mindset on budgeting will change your results. If you've tried it in the past, listen, like I said, I'm going to reiterate this point. You've tried budgeting in the past and it didn't work. Stop telling yourself that it was the system, that it was the platform, that it was the teacher, that it was the timing. It wasn't. It was you and your mind that was just being mismanaged around budgeting. But that's what I'm here for. I am here to help you clean that up so then you can go out and actually do the actions that you need to do from a much cleaner and more confident place. All right? So that's what I have for you in this episode. I want you to make sure to check back in with me on Thursday because, like I said, bonus episode on Thursday. So Thursday's episode, I'm going to walk you through the more tactical how-to side of budgeting, okay? Because now that we got our mindset cleaned up, now we can actually go into that side and be successful. Bye. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Money Love Podcast. If you're loving the podcast, then I want to invite you to join me in the Overcoming Overspending membership. It's where we take this work deeper and apply the concepts and coaching from each week's episode into your own life. By being a member, you have exclusive access to my Overcoming Overspending process, 10 monthly live coaching calls with me, a private podcast, members-only community, monthly money topic and challenge, bonus courses, and so much more. There's nowhere else like it out there to level up your finances and life. Simply go to overcomingoverspending.com to join, and you can enter in the code MLP30 at checkout to save $30 on your first month inside the membership. See you inside.